You're chilling on the couch, everything is cool, and then out of nowhere she hits you with something from 3 years ago. 3 years. She's got the date, the place, what you said word for word, and you're sitting there like, wait, what are we even talking about right now? You don't remember any of it, not even a little bit. And the more you tell her you don't remember, the more upset she gets. Like you're faking it. Like forgetting is something you're doing on purpose just to make her mad. This is one of the most frustrating experiences in any relationship because it feels like you're playing a game where she has all the cards and you don't even know the rules. It feels like she's keeping a mental database of every mistake you've ever made, just waiting for the right moment to pull it out and use it against you. And it makes you feel like no matter how good things are right now, there's always something from the past that can be weaponized at any moment. You start wondering if she even wants to be happy, or if she just wants to be right. But here's where everything changes. What if I told you she's not doing this to hurt you? What if I told you she couldn't forget even if she wanted to? What if I told you that her brain is literally wired differently than yours, and what feels like an attack is actually something she has almost no control over? See, there's a part of your brain called the amygdala. Think of it as the emotional alarm system. It tags experiences with feelings. And right next to it is the hippocampus, which handles memory storage. Now here's what matters. In women, these two structures are more densely connected. The wiring between emotion and memory is tighter, faster, more integrated. So when something emotional happens, her brain doesn't just store what happened, it stores how it felt. The disappointment, the embarrassment, the sadness, the anger, all of it gets locked in together as one package. And that package doesn't fade the way regular memories do. For you, that random comment you made 3 years ago about her cooking was just a sentence. You probably said it while distracted, didn't even think about it, and 5 minutes later it was gone from your mind completely. But for her, that sentence landed somewhere. Maybe she had spent 2 hours on that meal. Maybe she was already feeling insecure that day. Maybe she was hoping you would notice the effort. And when you made that comment, her brain tagged the moment with pain, real pain. And it filed it away, not as a small thing, but as evidence of something bigger. Evidence that maybe she's not appreciated. Evidence that maybe her efforts don't matter to you. And this is the part most men miss completely. When she brings up something from 3 years ago, she's not living in the past. She's not holding grudges. She's not keeping score. She's experiencing an emotional wound that never actually healed. To you, that moment is ancient history. To her, it might as well have happened yesterday because the feeling attached to it is still alive. The memory isn't old. The pain is still current. This is also why telling her, "That was so long ago, why are you still bringing it up?" makes everything worse. To her, that sounds like you're dismissing her feelings. It sounds like you're saying her pain has an expiration date and she should be over it by now. But emotions don't work on timelines. A wound that was never addressed doesn't heal just because the calendar moved forward. It stays open. And anything that reminds her of it, even something small, can reactivate the entire thing like it just happened. Now here's something else that makes this even more complicated. Studies have shown that estrogen actually enhances emotional memory consolidation. This means during certain times of her cycle, emotional memories get encoded even more strongly. She's not choosing to remember these things more vividly. Her biology is doing it automatically. And those memories become incredibly resistant to fading because they're tied to survival mechanisms that go back thousands of years. Her brain evolved to remember emotional details because those details helped her assess threats, evaluate trustworthiness, and protect her offspring. Forgetting emotional information could have been dangerous, so her brain holds on to it. Meanwhile, your brain works differently. Testosterone is associated with compartmentalization. Your brain is wired to resolve and move on. Something happens, you deal with it or you don't, and then you file it away and shift focus to the next thing. This made sense for survival too. If you were hunting or fighting or building, you couldn't afford to be emotionally stuck on something from last week. You needed to stay present, stay sharp, stay focused on the immediate task. So your brain learned to let things go quickly, not because you don't care, but because that's how your operating system was built. So you have two people with completely different memory systems trying to communicate about the past. She has high-definition emotional recordings with full sensory detail. You have vague fragments at best, and usually nothing at all. And when these two systems collide, it creates conflict that both people feel is unfair. She feels unheard and dismissed. You feel accused and confused. Nobody's lying. Nobody's exaggerating. You're just operating on completely different hardware. But here's the real breakthrough. Once you understand this, you can stop defending yourself and start doing something that actually works. When she brings up something from the past, the goal is not to prove you didn't do it, and it's not to argue about whether it was a big deal. The goal is to address the emotion that's still sitting there unprocessed. That's what she actually needs. Not for you to remember the event perfectly, but for you to acknowledge that something hurt her and that her pain matters to you, even if you don't recall the details. This is counterintuitive because it feels like admitting fault for something you don't even remember. But you're not admitting fault. You're acknowledging her experience. You're saying, I hear that this hurt you, and I'm sorry you felt that way. That's not about being right or wrong. That's about being a safe place for her emotions. And when you become that safe place, something shifts. She doesn't need to keep bringing up the past because the past finally gets closed. The wound gets the attention it needed all along, and it can finally begin to heal. The men who struggle most in relationships are the ones who keep trying to win arguments about history. The men who succeed are the ones who realize that memory isn't the issue. Emotion is. And emotion doesn't need to be debated. It needs to be witnessed.